And welcome back to another indie adventure. Now this time I'm looking at Concrete Jungle. It's this neat new puzzle game with a rather interesting theme and mechanics. Now this is one of my old Kickstarter pledges that has now gone into, a version of early access with a few of the game modes present, most of the mechanics in place, but still a lot of, polish and content needed. What it is basically a card-based real estate puzzle game. Now that sounds like the worst idea you could possibly make come to fruition, but trust me, it is a lot better to play than it suggests. It basically involves playing these little cards that, when you place down on this little grid, turn into structures, and each has a certain amount of, points it might give, or buffs and debuffs to areas, or it might collect points as well. And it's combining these within these grids, within these rows to, maximize the amount of points you get. Add points to it, put houses where you need them. Just work with the terrain, work with your surroundings to get the most out of it, get the most points. So, that's the puzzle elements coming through. Now, what happens is the front row, once you have the certain quota for the row, the certain point requirement, that's when it disappears, and from then on it kind of cascades. The next one comes down, and if you have enough points there, it goes away as well, and you get this real sort of combo going on. Each row keeps on going bang bang bang, and it gives you a lot more points. It's really satisfying to get that sort of stuff. Oh yeah, give me that sweet sweet beep. Now, the puzzle elements and each campaign offers up a few new challenges each time to overcome. It'll be a certain way to use your cards. It might be a certain map to get around with, buildings already in place, negative effects around, and just trying to work your cards, your buildings, your structures into this terrain to, make those point quotas, make those point definitions. Sometimes it even asks you to use, these little constructed decks that you won't have much of an input in, especially during the beginning. And it's just using those effectively, using them, efficiently as possible. Now, it does do really well in that it allows for a lot of trial and error, and even alternative ways to go about these puzzles and create these puzzles, but there's always one, optimal approach for the maximum points. And that is insanely satisfying when you hit that point, when you see all those combos and points rolling in, each row disappearing and disappearing one after the other. It's great to see. I love that. It tends to really bring you in quite slowly as well. It has a really, a great little difficulty curve. The tutorial systems and the way it just introduces mechanics and cards and abilities and also new challenges is very well done. It slowly, gradually gives you that difficulty, slowly, gradually gives you more mechanics to use, but it's never too little that you get bored with it. You learn those mechanics, and then you want to know more, and then you're to the next and you're learning more. And by the end of the campaign, which isn't quite finished yet, you get a real sense of what this game is about, and I love it so much. It introduces you to a few characters as well, and I have to say that I really love the design of these characters. Each has, an interesting personality that they exude, and as the campaign comes along, it introduces new characters to you more and more, and the dialogue between them is just oftentimes perfect. It brilliantly mimics, or just lampoons, the demographic they're trying to represent there. You've got the bumbling bureaucrat who's completely making errors. You've got the kind of greenleaf hippie type that's focused on farming but also has a strong business mind to it. And there's a lot more characters hidden away there too that I'm gathering will get released as we get closer and closer to release. I don't know, it's just the dialogue and the way they interact is perfect, and each character has their own elements in gameplay that they favor, that they focus on as well. And it brings a lot of diversity to, you know, a style of game that might get a bit boring after a while, because you can change up your style of play based on the characters you play. You can compete against different players and different styles of play as well, so there's a lot there because of it. Another element that ties into the characters is the elements of progression. During each game, you can play these certain types of industrial buildings that give you more and more points, and what these points do is go towards, you know, maybe buying some new cards, maybe buying different cards that replace certain cards, or even using them to progress on certain tech trees based on the characters that favor their playstyle, give them certain specific buildings for that playstyle. And the longer these games on, the more of those specialist cards you get, the more along the tech trees you get. And you can see a lot of difference in how each of those characters plays as it goes further along in those matches, which is really great to see. Now, there isn't an online multiplayer version available yet, but there is, you know, an interesting AI versus mode that can get quite difficult and requires a lot more strategy to complete. It pits you against the different characters available, and there's a lot more varying strategy involved in how you go about getting the certain squares available to you, getting the most points, you know, beating out the opponent, using those buff and debuff cards effectively. So it's great fun to play. And there's also a local co-op mode if you want to, you know, play against friends on a single computer. And it has space for a lot of people too, which is great to know if you had that many friends. No, I seriously love this game. I can't stress this enough. Even for, you know, an early access game that's still, you know, seeking for green light, it is done perfectly. The content isn't all there yet, the characters aren't all there yet, but the gameplay, the design, the mechanics, you know, the aesthetic, the theme, and the general humor that's involved in this game is just done so well. Too often, puzzle games fall into that style of gameplay that, you know, has been used and reused way too often, and Concrete Jungle just seems to break from it. It's its own unique style, it's its own unique gameplay, and that just feels so refreshing to play, and I don't know, I'm just engaged. So, in conclusion, I give this, you know, I played till 2 AM without realizing it out of 10. Thanks everyone, and yeah, check it out on Greenlight and give it a thumbs up so it comes out for you all who didn't kickstart earlier. Bye.